Hey everybody, it's Lunch with Mal and we're live like right at noon. This is how you do it. Um okay, and I'm just going to grab the link to give to Jill so she can post the everyone post. Oh, she just found it. I don't need to do anything. So, I hope everybody is having a fabulous third day of Saturnalia. If you don't know what Saturnalia is, it's the holiday we're currently celebrating. So like there you go. No, it's the Roman harvest feast that went from December 17th to 23rd. And it's topsy turvy. It's like, slaves are served by their lords, and every household has a lord of misrule who has to make up silly rules for everybody else to follow during Saturnalia. And even the king or the emperor and originally the king wears a freedman's cap, which is like the hat they gave to slaves that were freed and stuff like that. So it's a cool holiday. Things like turtle doves were given as gifts. Who would have thunk it? And it is actually the original origin of our modern day Christmas holiday. Um, so now you know the rest of the story. Oh, Jill, I found it, the post, but Jill didn't. So I thought she was all set. But there we go. I just gave her the link so she can put the comment in. Hey, William Stacy, how are you doing? And anybody else who's shown up, you can say hi. I know there's about 10 people across all the different platforms. It's cool. We're starting to pick up more. We're starting now to get like into the neighborhood of like 30 to 40 people watching simultaneously live. And then a lot of people watch afterwards. So shout out to all of you who catch Lunch with Mal, in the whenever it works for you. Hey, Monica, how's it going? And it's Jill. Oh no, Jill sent an everyone message, but forgot to actually put a message in there. Oh, I'm sorry, honey. It's conspiring against you. Okay. My mic arm, I've got it in like a new way, and it's like exactly in the way of the chat. So like I can't quite see the chat. But so yeah, Saturnalia and Facebook has presents for us. And and of course, Facebook is a capricious Roman god, and never actually has presence that we want when it comes to running ads. So that's the thing that we have to contend with. I'm sure that a lot of you have heard some hubbubaloo about Facebook having new ad restrictions. If you go and like look on YouTube for Facebook ads 2025, you'll see people posting things like the death of ads, and other glorious hyperbole like that. But trust me, it's not quite that bad. But say hi, folks. I mean, I've got 3 out of like 15 people have said hi. I know you're out there. I can feel you. So before we talk about that, I kind of want to give a little bit of a state of the ads in general right now. This has been one of the most expensive holiday seasons. Actually, I think it's the most expensive holiday season I've run ads in since 2016 when we started. Ads are costing more, are harder to scale right now than ever before. But every single year before this, on January 1st, ads decrease in cost so much, like CPCs drop so sharply, it seems almost unreal. Like the first time you like on January 1st, you're always like, is this actually happening? And I think a big part of it is because sorry, it's like a nut stuck in my tooth there. A big part of it's because a lot of advertisers probably run campaigns to the end of the year, and then the budget is used up for that particular month, and so they end the campaigns. Hey, Deborah and Crystal. Hi. Oh, it's been a while, Crystal. How are you doing? Are you coming down from your strange prescribed drug-induced event last week? I saw some of your posts that were rather amusing. And hey, Amy, how you doing? So, so I expect ad costs to come down. They are already kind of easing down, which is nice. Normally, they do start easing down pretty nicely the week after Cyber Monday. Just the tricky thing is that Cyber Monday was in December this year, so normally that first full week of December is when we get ad costs dipping back down again after Thanksgiving, and that's this week. This is the first full week after Cyber Monday. So so things are slower. We have a compressed Christmas season, only 3 weeks between. Is it 3 weeks between Thanksgiving and Christmas? It feels like it's 3 weeks between Thanksgiving and Christmas. It is. Yeah, there's only 3 full weeks between Thanksgiving week and Christmas week because we are T minus 6 days till Christmas for those of you who need something to panic about right now. Um, Hello, Christopher. Oh, I love everybody says hi. It's nice to chat with everybody. If you do have questions, by the way, any questions about Facebook ads or publishing or life in general, feel free to toss them in the chat, and I will get to them as I go through my spiel. So one of the things that happened recently, and you might have seen it posted in a number of groups, is that Facebook people have been saying like Facebook is putting new restrictions on my account and I can't do XYZ anymore. And I've been flagged as a pornography site or health and wellness or financial or something like that. And Facebook's telling me that I can't run that my ad account's going to be restricted in some fashion. Yeah, Lord, no need to panic. Um, Especially because all of that hubbubaloo about Facebook ad restrictions doesn't affect 95% of authors at all. Um, oh, that's awesome, Crystal, that your life's been doing better. Stony side or otherwise. You and your wife have been through a bit of a rough time, I know. So I'm glad that things are doing well for you too. Um, Sorry, back on track. I read the comments of like the most inopportune times for a smooth flow sometimes. Um, so what happened? There's a bunch of things that have happened. The first thing is lawsuits have changed and enhanced interpretations of HIPAA law. For those of you who live outside the United States, HIPAA is the Health Privacy Act from 1996, if memory serves, from the research I did a couple days ago. Other countries also have similar laws, just about personal privacy surrounding your health records. So let's say, for example, this is none of us, but let's pretend that you who sell high blood pressure medication or some sort of something for high blood pressure, and um, someone goes to your website on Shopify and buys your high blood pressure supplement or whatever, or medication or whatever it is that you sell. Well, if your Shopify website sends data back to Facebook and says like, "Hey, person XYZ just bought high blood pressure medication," that is a violation of HIPAA because now it's shared with a third party, someone's medical record, someone's medical status, and that's not okay. So what Facebook has done is they've now said if you get flagged as a health and wellness website, no longer shall purchase events or add to cart events send from Shopify or whatever e-commerce platform you might use back to Facebook, because that's what Facebook uses to optimize sales ads. They actually look at if someone purchases or does an add to cart event or something like that on your website, the website communicates it back to Facebook, and Facebook's like, I sent these people and they did nothing, and I sent these people and they purchased. I'm going to try and find more people like these people. That's how non-traffic ads work. Lead ads or sales ads specifically work like that. I mean, traffic ads work like that too, but the optimization process is to just find more people who will click the link, because that's what every campaign type has a result that Facebook's looking for, and for traffic, it's the click. That's why the click, the cost per click and the cost per result are basically the same. So that put a wrench in things, and so any website that gets flagged as health and wellness, and it seems right now to be domain based. So if your website domain is, mybloodpressuremeds.com, and they will then, if they determine that is a health and wellness website, they will flag any ads going to that website as a health and wellness ad, and then they won't send that data back. And again, that only affects direct sales. It doesn't affect if you're using Amazon and going to a retailer. Heaven forbid Amazon gets flagged as a health and wellness website. Then we're all screwed. But actually not that much, because none of these things really affect traffic ads that much. There are caveats to come. Another thing that's happened is the FTC has brought down some heavy restrictions on anything that might be classified as like financial advice and promises of success from a course or books or something like that. So if you were to say like, sign up for my course and you'll make $10,000 a month, that's no go. You cannot make claims like that anymore. And they've even become more specific. Like you can't even do like a testimonial and then say like results not typical underneath. Results, if you have a testimonial, it has to be typical results. So they've got a bunch of restrictions there, and they get some pretty heavy fines around that. So that's sort of the wellness part of health and wellness, that if Facebook determines that you're selling some sort of like course or personal growth sort of thing, they're also going to flag you because they're going to try to limit your ability to run ads, and they might just reject ads in those cases. Again, unless you're writing nonfiction, and you're watching this, it's not going to affect you. Um, and then financial ads, housing ads, and political ads have been heavily restricted for some time. And Facebook is just sort of including those in a lot of its verbiage it's sending out right now about not accepting ads and whatnot. If you get flagged in some fashion as doing health and wellness ads, you're going to get an alert either on the ad itself if you go to edit the ad, or it might be showing up at the top of the ad manager. But usually it's going to show up on the ad itself when you go to edit it. So you'll see the ads rejected, and you'll see that alert. If you're doing direct sales and your data source has been flagged as health and wellness, that alert will show up at the top of the ad manager. And data source, of course, data source is Facebook's new word for pixel. So if your pixel is on a website that's been flagged as health and wellness, then your data source is flagged as health and wellness, and Facebook will reject any conversion-like information coming back, because of course they don't want to have information that says person XYZ has high blood pressure. I just dropped my brush. It's horrifying. However, that's basically what their official help document says. But they sent out some emails recently that have a bit more information in them. And so it says, first, the initial spiel about how we're always trying to make things better from Facebook. As part of that, we're launching some updates to restrict how certain categories of data sources. So data sources means pixel, and pixel means direct sales or leads. For like if you're doing a book funnel reader magnet or something like that. So that's what data sources means when used here. It always means like your pixel connected to some other site, which of course is not Amazon because we don't have our pixels on Amazon. So we restrict how certain categories of data sources, for example, websites or apps, can share events with Meta. And events means something like view page, purchase, add to cart, so on. This will begin in January 2025 and may vary potentially by region. These restrictions could impact certain standard events and/or prevent your data source from sharing events with Meta. At least one of your data sources may be in a category with upcoming restrictions. So this is actually a letter that an author got. A data source may be in a category with restrictions when and then has a list of data source categories that could be the things that could get you into restricted category. Is associated with medical conditions, specific health statuses, or provider-patient relationships. For example, a patient portal or wellness tracker for depression. So you can't run ads to something like that. Provides financial tools, consultation, or services. Is associated with members of a specific political party position, or contains topics related to a political issue. Ads about politics, been verboten for some time, unless you have you jump through special hoops. Is associated with individuals of a specific race or ethnicity. Is associated with individuals with specific religious or spiritual beliefs and practices, because again, that's profiling information kind of stuff. Facebook doesn't want to know that. Contains topics related to sexuality or sexual orientation, or caters to individuals of a specific gender identity. That one kind of sucks, and I also understand why they're doing that, because someone could be using this to, like you think like, oh, Mel, you're trans, and if you want to make a website to help trans people, what would that do? What would that look like? You wouldn't be able to run ads to it. And it's like, yes, but at the same time, someone wouldn't be able to run a honeypot ad to me and get me to, in some fashion, confirm that I am trans, and then use that to run attack ads against me or something like that. So it can go both ways, right? Anytime you're using information for good to target the right people, it can also be used for nefarious purposes as well. It does suck that they do this, and mainly because queer romance. If you're writing queer romance, or even sexuality, like that can actually fall into even MF romance. So if you're doing direct sales for any kind of romance, and they've determined that the website that's doing this is a website that falls under that categorization, then they could actually restrict your ability to send events back up the chain to Facebook. But that is connected to the domain, so you could, in theory, just change the domain of your website. But if that ever comes under scrutiny, that could be a problem. Is associated with individuals of a specific citizen status, members of a trade union, individuals likely facing personal hardship. Um, and then it sort of says contains topics related to unsuitable content, and it has like this super verbose anything that violates our community and advertising standards, which are super in specific already. So basically, anything that can kind of make a connection between a given person and any sort of like marginalized minority, financial struggle, political, or race or health thing is now going to be restricted. And again, this only affects people doing direct sales. So in this particular scenario about how they're talking about how they're going to categorize websites and they restrict things. So if you're not doing direct sales and you're hearing all this hubbubaloo about how Facebook's making these big ad changes this year, it doesn't affect you. With the caveat that if you're doing a reader magnet and I don't know, say BookFunnel gets flagged as one of these things, then it could affect your reader magnets sending of the lead data back. The event that gets sent back for a lead is complete registration. I'm sure if that happens, BookFunnel will work assiduously. Assiduously, is that the right word? Arduously, probably is what I meant to say. To fix that. But you can also actually use custom domains with BookFunnel. So you could actually use like books.mywebsite.com. You can set those up with BookFunnel. So if you want to make sure that you're secure in that regard, you could do that. The sort of like side, the adjacent issue is that they are going to be more strict at ads that look like they might be financially related. And they seem to be a little bit more strict about what they term as pornography right now too. And this past year, 2024, has been the heyday of like put whatever smutty thing you want to in a Facebook ad and get away with it. And I mentioned that this has happened in the past, and Amazon's done the same thing too, where there's a period where you can like put anything out there, like back in like 2014. Like the homepage on Amazon or the top 100 on Amazon.com was dominated by straight up like super kinky porn books. And then it sort of came out in the news that Amazon was basically just selling lots of porn, and they cracked down on it, made the dungeon and all that. And there's been an ebb and a flow in how hardcore they are about enforcing this sort of thing. And the same has been true about Facebook. It is possibly related to a new administration coming in, but it might not be, where Facebook is becoming a little bit more particular about pornography. But it just means that as advertisers, we have to adapt and adjust. So if we find ourselves getting flagged as doing porn, we might have to change our images. We might have to adjust our blurbs a bit because they will read the page that we link to. Hopefully we won't ever have to go so far as adjusting covers. Facebook's never been super particular about the covers we have on Amazon. They're just particular about the images that we use. But like I said, by and large, all of these new restrictions that are coming into play just have to do with direct sales and possibly with lead ads as well. They don't have anything to do with traffic ads running to Amazon, because there's no two-way data sharing with Amazon. Facebook never gets anything back from Amazon anyway, so they can't categorize people by their behaviors on Amazon anyway. So that's sort of the main spiel. I know a bunch of you guys have had some comments, so let's see what we got here. Laura says, I made my first reel and it's a coveted high performance TikTok, almost a minute long. Facebook suggests trimming it to 15 seconds. Is it worth giving my longer video a go? Yeah, give it a go. I mean, the main thing is if it can hold people's attention past 3 seconds and it gives them meat and potatoes by 15, then it should be fine. And by meat and potatoes, I mean something that can either, like, can they know enough to click and convert about 15 seconds in. If that's true for the people that are impatient and just want to go to your book, then great. And then if it's interesting all the way down through a minute, then keep going. Once you have a reel up on Facebook, you can actually look at the data. You can add some additional columns and it will show you what your average watch times are, what percentage of people watch the whole thing, all that sort of thing. So I'm a big believer that test everything, try it. Because the even like any advice that I offer, any advice that Facebook offers, it's always like the standard safe advice. Like I try to give advice that won't harm anybody, but that doesn't mean it's always like the most optimal advice in any given situation. Obviously, if you ask me, someone who asked me a specific question, then I will give them advice specific to them, and hopefully it will be the most optimal. But usually, like any sort of general recommendation that you're going to see from Facebook is just that. It's just a general recommendation. Um, so it doesn't mean you have to follow it. Monica says a video ad's been working on for the past, don't seem to be as effective. I've only spent a little bit over 1,000 on this ad, running it to a few different audiences. What is the best thing to do when this happens? Try to run the same successful ad to a different audience, somehow refresh the creative. If the ad's working, I mean, if it's good ad, or sorry, good, if it's good ad creative and it's worked, chances are, at $1,000, you've only shown it to 0.1% of the possible audience that could see the ad. So you could change up your audience, or you could take the exact same ad creative and just make a whole new campaign and put that same creative in it again. Because one of the things that does happen with Facebook is it's sort of like, even within the bucket of a campaign, not just an ad set, but within the bucket of a campaign, it sort of like learns about the audience for a given campaign, and it could start to restrict down who it shows any ad to within a certain campaign. So if you kind of are finding that, like, I can't seem to get new people, conversions have dried up on this particular ad, you can just take the exact same ad creative, make a whole new campaign, and give it another run. And that's probably what I would do at this point. You don't always have to make a new campaign, but I figured let's just be safe and go that way. See you later, Crystal. Nice to see you. Have you around. So yeah. Does anybody have any questions about the stuff with Facebook? Does anybody run direct sales or reader magnet ads using the lead type of ad to BookFunnel, and you're concerned, or are you all just like, whew, this one doesn't apply to me, thank God? Which, I mean, by and large is true for most people. Not true for me because I work with a lot of customers who do direct sales ads. But or clients, I mean, but for most people I work with, it's also not an issue. Hopefully, was that good, by the way, Monica? Do you have any follow-on questions from that? Was that clear? What you should do? But I hope folks are ready. I hope folks are ready for Christmas. From an advertising standpoint, we have to be a little bit careful about when we create new ads around Christmas, because when you create a new ad, it goes into a learning phase. And if you create an ad on a day where people have non-standard viewing behaviors, you might get non-standard learning and the ad might kind of go sideways. Like a policy I've had for over a year now is I don't make ads on the weekend. And my whole team follows that because people's behaviors are different on the weekend. You can get different people on the weekend that then just aren't on Facebook during the week and vice versa. So you're better to start ads during the week. And generally for us, we do Monday through around Friday at noon. After that, we don't start ads. Next week is going to be a little bit wonky. I might consider starting new ads the 23rd, but I wouldn't start ads the 24th, honestly, till the end of the week, because they might go sideways. They might have crazy high cost per clicks. Maybe you could do the morning of the 24th, but that's a little bit of a stretch. I don't think I would do, or you could maybe do the evening of the 22nd. So if you have any sales you plan on running over Christmas, I would kick off your ads for those sales on the 23rd. Get them up and running, get the ads going, and then you could scale a high performing ad after that. But I wouldn't make new ads like on the 25th, 26th. You're going to see really odd behavior from ads you make on those days. And the same is true for the 30th and the 1st. But I would say that by the 2nd, things will largely be back to normal, especially because we should see lower ad costs starting on the 2nd now as well. So, maybe the 30th, if you're kind of in a pinch and you want to do a New Year's ad, but I wouldn't start new ads on the 31st or the 1st. But you can dive in and start making ads with abandon on the 2nd. And really, the first 3 weeks of January are like a golden period. A lot of people are reading, ad cost is low, and it's a good time to rock it. 4th week of January, And then through February, things do slow down. Reads do seem to drop on average across the board. It's always like befuddles me because I always figure that's the exact opposite of what I would expect. I'd be like, people are like hibernating and reading books, but it does always seem like it's a bit of a dip. And also be aware that December is traditionally one of the higher KU rate months, and January is generally one of the lower KU rate months. So I'm always like, maximize those cheap ads, get tons of reads because the value of reads goes down January and February. So do keep that in mind. Hey, Carolyn, how's it going? Nice to see you. Monica, it's really helpful. And can I maintain the same audience? Yeah, a lot of times you can build with the exact same audience. Like I said, because you might be making, I mean, hopefully your audience is up over 1 million people. And $100,000 or $1,000, I'd be surprised if that got you 100,000 impressions. So you've got lots of room to reach more people within that audience. And you say also, is it helpful to run the same ad to multiple different audiences, one campaign? With budget optimization set at the campaign level, I always wonder if I'm competing against myself by doing that. You can run multiple ad sets within one campaign to different audiences, no problem at all. Don't use campaign budget optimization though, because Facebook doesn't actually have any clue about which one of your ads really converts well. It knows which ones it can get clicks the most cheaply, cheaply clicks, something like that. It knows which ones it can get the best. It can get the most clicks for the least money. There, I said the words. So we'll optimize your ads for that, but that isn't directly correlated to conversion. Conversion only you know by looking at your Amazon attribution data. So campaign budget optimization is generally not a good thing for traffic ads. When you're doing direct sales ads, it works great because Facebook then knows which of these ad sets is actually leading to real sales, money changing hands kind of thing. So that works for that. It's not really built for traffic ads. One of the ways you can tell if your ads are competing against each other is by looking at your frequency. So that's a column that you can turn on in the ad manager. The columns are under, if normally they're the default column layout is called performance. So you see a button toward the upper right that will say performance, and it'll have like 3 bars. It might also just have 3 bars depending on how big your screen is, and that means your columns. And if you click on that, at the bottom, you can choose to customize columns. And like one of the first additional things you can turn on is called frequency. It's either the second or the fourth checkbox. Frequency is the number of times the same people are seeing your ad in whatever time frame you've selected. So usually in the upper right in the ad manager, I set it to the last 30 days. So if I have a frequency of 2, that means that on average in the last 30 days, people are seeing my ad twice, which is okay. 2 is fine. We don't worry about 2. We worry when it gets closer to 3 generally, because people do need to see your ad more than once to actually start to convert. So if you go and look at your individual ad sets, so let's say you're running, same creative, 3 different audiences inside of one campaign. So you go and you look at your ad sets, and each ad set has a frequency of 2. You're like, okay, with each one of these ad sets, like I said before, you know that people are on average only seeing your ad twice in whatever date range you've picked. Let's say it's a month. And if you back out one level and you look at the campaign, if your frequency is like 2.2, for example, that means that even across all 3 of those ad sets, you're averaging 2.2 times a month, which means that no, people are not seeing all of these ads over and over again. If it was 6, that means that everybody is seeing everybody's seeing the ad under each one of these ad sets, if that makes sense. So that's one of the ways you can tell. It's actually kind of where it's handy to actually run to group the same creative with different audiences in one campaign. So one campaign, 3 audiences, and then each ad within each of those ad sets is actually running the exact same creative, because you can look at that campaign level frequency, and that gives you the cumulative number of views across all the ad sets. And provided it's not like, if it's like half or 1 frequency higher, that's fine. Then some people are seeing the other ads, the ads in the other ad sets. So whatever audiences you've picked is doing double duty. But you'll be surprised, most of the time you're actually only going to see like 1.1 overlap, which tells you then that people are not seeing the ad across a different ad sets. Hopefully that makes sense. That was a lot of abstract things to just talk about. I just don't happen to have a great example off the top of my head to show um, that working without like double checking, making sure it was good and whatnot. But does that make sense? If it doesn't, then I can see if I can quickly drum up an example to show what that would actually look like. But hopefully it's good. So I am getting parched. So as a side note, if folks didn't see last week or the week before Lunch with Mal, they both been pretty interesting. 2 weeks ago, we had a woman on whose name I suddenly forget. It wasn't Sana. Sana was a couple weeks before that, but she does podcasts and she gets people onto the top 5, not top 5, like the top 5% of podcasts in their genre. I forget in their categories. I forget the exact numbers, but she looks at like top global podcasts and gets people on those. And her website's exposuremaven.com. A couple of people have already signed up with her and are pretty excited about some of the podcasts they could be on. And then last week we had Sylvia Frost on, the cover designer, talking about data-driven cover design and some of the stuff she's doing now to be more data-driven with cover design and do a better job designing covers and picking the right elements. So if you haven't watched those, you can always go back and watch those. All right. So Monica says she get it. So set the budget at the ad set level and only put one ad in each ad set. Yep, that's how I do it. And that way you can, and then of course each ad has its own attribution link in the Amazon attribution system. And then you can fine tune the budget on a per ad set basis yourself. You can be like, okay, this one converts better, it gets more money. Oh, it's slowed down on conversion, but this other one picked up. I'm going to shift the budget to put it into the one that's converting better. So you can totally play around with things that way. I'm actually kind of all out of talk. I feel like I did my big spiel and only one question today, or two. Well, I guess two questions. I feel we might wrap early unless anybody has anything else they want to ask. My brain is like halfway on like all the things I need to wrap up today to kind of get ready for a light week next week. So that's kind of where I'm at. I don't think I'll be doing Lunch with Mal over the holidays. There's a possibility I might do one. Well, I'll probably do one on the 2nd to give everybody an update about where we are with ad costs and stuff like that. I don't think I'll be doing one next week. So just to give you guys a heads up, we won't be having that. But yeah, probably on the 2nd we'll have one, so I can be like, "Yay, ad costs did come down," or "No, the sky has fallen." But I know like I think a week or two ago I was like, I need to start looking at other ways to advertise books because this is getting expensive and crazy. But I'm feeling better. I'm feeling like, okay, we are seeing a return to normalcy. It was just about a week and a half later than normal, so I am feeling pretty good there. Let's see. All right. Deborah says, do you duplicate a high-performing ad versus another ad that's doing okay? Only if the high-performing ad's also converting in attribution. If it is, then yes, I'll duplicate that and make some tweaks to it, try different audiences, play around with the creative a little bit. Laura says, I booked my next cover with Sylvia's team. Now I have to figure out which direction to go with a new spin-off series. It's next generation from my last series. Still unsure whether to go model or object for MMF. Any ideas how to research? I should remember this, Laura, but I can't remember your genre outside of MMF. Are you contemporary? I'm trying to summon your book covers in my mind, but I can't quite do it. My brain's too full. It's got too many books in there. I mean, one of the things you can do is look at the mid-listers that are your contemporaries and see what they're doing, especially see what they're doing with new books. But I think also, like, how well can you convey genre and trope information with an object cover versus a non-object cover? One thing I have found is a lot of authors who write contemporary and then do object covers have a little bit more of a harder time signaling genre and trope, because most people think of object covers as more subgenre, like their P&R, their UF, their paranormal women's fiction, stuff like that. Those ones have been more traditionally object covers. So a lot of times just straight contemporary doesn't do as well when they're object. All right, your male model ebooks and object paperbacks, contemporary. Okay. I mean, I would probably stick with model, but I mean, Sylvia could do an experiment for you, or you could look at your own ads. You could do some sort of like more object setting kind of ads, and then ones that are male model, and see which ones convert better. Like you can kind of do your own preliminary testing And since this is a spin-off, it should imagine it has all the same genre and trope elements. You can test it on your existing series. Um, and then you can also do omnibuses as well, box sets to everybody else. Because I do that with mine. Because in science fiction, you've got character kicking ass going pew pew, or you've got spaceships in space going pew pew. Those are the two kind of main covers you're going to see for sci-fi. So I do both. If my individual books have a character on the cover, then my omnibuses are spaceships going pew pew, and vice versa. So I want to capture them both. And that was my thought too, right? Like there's no one cover that serves everybody. Different people will be attracted to different covers. So I'm like, how many ways can I repackage my books to give them all the possible cover combinations to make it so that I can, no pun intended, cover all my bases. So that's kind of how I do that. Pippa says, do you have any experience with Tantor Media? I love it. I got all the questions. Thanks everyone. Because I still do kind of want to talk. Do you have any experience with Tantor Media? Is there anything I should know before I call them? My call with them tonight, they contacted me about audiobooks. Yeah, I have 20, 30 books with Tantor. Ask for more money than they offer you by default. That's true with anybody that comes to you wanting to do something with your books, audiobook, publishing, whatever. They're going to have a base offer that they're going to make, and they may very well be prepared to negotiate. Everybody I've worked with, I've gotten more money than they initially offered by negotiating. Be it a shorter term, a better percentage, or a better when they give you the money up front. Why has this word just left my brain? The money they give you up front, whatever it's called. There's a word for it. You guys will tell me. I know. Merry Christmas, Judith. Mila says, what should be the target cost per click? We're looking for books now. I heard 14 cents, but has it changed? It depends on your genre. Contemporary can usually stay under 15 cents per click, except for right now. Contemporary is up in the low 20s. The more genre you are, the more up the high teens, low 20s you end up getting. However, right now, genre books are up over 30. Like they're closing on 40 in some cases, and contemporary is up over 20. So it's high right now. It's like 30 to 40% more than normal. It should come down after Christmas. I got everything crossed on that. But yeah, if you're writing contemporary, you should be looking for 14. You can also get cheaper CPCs with reels. I think William Stacy, who's on with us, if he's still here, fired up a reel and has it at 4 cents a click right now. So you can get those a lot cheaper. Reels do tend to convert at a lower rate, but they also tend to be so much cheaper that it comes out in the wash. You want the magic bullet cover. Exactly, Laura. Yeah, that's bang on, right? Advance. Thank you, Mila. Why did that word just like not pop into my head? 750. Last I worked with them, the base offer that they usually made was 500. So 750 seems like it's above that. Oh, I would ask for 1,000. Worst they'll do is say no. So you could totally do that. Oh, that makes sense, William. Yeah, and the numbers I always give for CPCs are like at $10 a day. As you add money, the cost per click will always go up. But still 9 cents right now in this economy, William. It's amazing. It's really good. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. I forget what their default percentages are, Pippa, to be honest. I want to say they give like 25 to 40% is usually what they offer. And I think they usually offer, they put you in for a 7-year contract. If you find some of the other terms to be unacceptable, you could say like, I'll accept these terms if you give me a 5-year contract. That's an option you could have as well. That sounds good, Pippa. Yeah, it sounds like you're on the right track. And like in the long run, if you're willing to put in the work, you can always make more money doing your audiobooks yourself. However, there's the risk angle. You would then have to take on all that financial risk, and then it could be substantial. So the nice thing about using someone like Tantor or Podium or whomever is that it's kind of just money on autopilot. You just make it magically. So definitely, I definitely think that it's worth it. I'm like of two minds. Like if I had done my main series myself in the long run, I probably would have made more money. But at the same time, I wouldn't be able to do it then. I would have had to wait like 2 years before I could have done it. And then would I have made more money? I don't know. So I'm not. Some people are very much against using people like Tantor. I'm like of two minds, where it's kind of like one of them is, like anything, a higher risk investment often has a better potential for better return, but it also has the potential just to eat your money. Whereas the low risk investment is pretty much guaranteed to give you some return and then some residuals afterward. So it kind of depends on where you are with a whole host of things at the time. Well, that's interesting. Did you get what you think was a pretty good deal, William? Did the agent take a big cut? I've never heard of anyone using an agent with Tantor before. I'm curious about your results with that. I did not use an agent. I just said, yes, give me money. Yeah, 7 audiobooks, you're looking at like bare minimum 1,500 to 2,000 a book. Does your Oh, that's cool. Do you have your agent's information that you could share? Just in case anyone's interested in reaching out to them to see if they could get a better deal than one could get on their own. And by anyone, I mean Pippa. Um, but yeah, I think I have one, two, three, four series with Tantor at present. It was good. All right. I will I don't think I have anything else to talk about. So if you can check, I would love that. And you can just like, just reply to Pippa and she'll get notified even after the stream's ended about your comment, and then she can see who you used. Um, That's true. I should mention that we did use Kickstarter to pay for an audiobook one time. It was a 7-book series, and my narrator flaked out on me after book 3, and I didn't want to change narrators, so I wanted to get the whole thing. I wanted to do the whole thing at once, get the first 3 books re-narrated, and so I did a Kickstarter. That was an exciting Kickstarter because we started that Kickstarter 2 weeks before lockdown happened in 2020. So that was a nail biter. We still did $13,000, which was actually enough to get the books narrated. And the super cool thing was that we launched the audiobook in the black and then made 20 grand off the audiobook. So it was actually like a pretty sweet double whammy. That's true. Could always reach out to Podium too. Yeah, I like the idea of them taking the risk too, Pippa. I'm definitely down for that. Unless you're like, I would say like, unless you're like, could take the money they would take to the audiobooks and just set that aside for 5 years and not touch it and maybe never get it back. Unless you're prepared, or at least not get all of it back. Unless you're prepared to do that, then having somebody else do your audiobooks is definitely a good way to go. But all right, I'm gonna wrap here because I'm hungry, and I will talk to you guys on the 2nd. I'll see you then. And if I have any updates I want to give next week, I might just do a quick lunch with Mal, just to share them. But I doubt it's going to happen. I think we'll probably be chilling. Hersman writes, worth a try. They dropped me later, but I did range 6 books. All right. Well, yeah. So that's an option. Someone to check into at least. All right, folks. Have yourselves a fabulous Christmas, an excellent next 3 days of Saturnalia, the most important holiday of the season. And for those of you who celebrate Festivus, I hope you enjoy the festival of the rest of us and your aluminum pole and the airing of grievances as is tradition. And don't forget your feats of strength during Festivus as well. All right, folks, I will see you guys later. Have a great holiday. Talk to you in a couple weeks.